Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we got ourselves a post-draft mailbag. I love mailbag pods. In season and out of season. I think they can be some of our best shows. In season, because we're just like narrative busting. We're talking about what we saw in the film, what the numbers are telling you. And then out of season, it's like, okay, I get to spend an entire day on this little topic for notes. Justin, how are you?
And it's what the people want to hear, which is nice. Which sometimes, believe it or not, we avoid what the people want to hear because we want to talk about what we want to talk about. No, but I love mailbag pods. A lot of stuff has happened. The Giants had a draft. The Giants didn't get a quarterback, and basically the roster's kind of set. So let's break it all down.
Yeah, let's break it all down. Before we get into that, Justin, the Giants did make a couple of transactions. They signed quarterback, or they claimed him from off waivers from the Patriots, quarterback Nathan Rourke, and they signed wide receiver Allen Robinson. So it is you tweeted it earlier today, Justin, or earlier on Thursday that all of that 2020 season we're like, man, I want Allen Robinson. Who do you want on this team, Allen Robinson or Kenny Golladay? There was trade talks with them, and now we got both of them, and neither one will put up like 500 yards, 600 yards in the season.
Yeah, it's really we probably have, I don't know, clips out there or something. Allen Robinson.
I loved Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson or Kenny Golladay, and I think one of the talking points is, man, we would love Allen Robinson, but Kenny Golladay is probably the more realistic one. Well, there you go. Now both of them are in some sort of capacity. Golladay already did, and now Allen Robinson's going to be strapping on that NY helmet, and it's a question of, I don't even think he makes the team, because wide receiver is actually a position that we have depth at, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at my tweets from 2020. Kenny Golladay has surpassed Allen Robinson as my number one free agency target, and then
was that because that you actually really liked Golladay more at that time, or because
I think he just made some type of... Oh, I did a video because there was trade rumors for Golladay.
Yeah.
I just went and looked into Golladay, and then 2 days later, remember they beat the Saints in that, the Bears beat the Saints, I said, has Allen Robinson passed Kenny Golladay as my number one free agent target? So I really want... I have a lot of Allen Robinson tweets.
Yeah, he was awesome. I think
he was so good. He balled with trash.
Yeah,
with Blake Bortles, Mitchell Trubisky, dude just balled no matter what, and then it just fell off a cliff quick for him.
Very, very quick. And him and Kenny Golladay were kind of similar players. He's only 30 years old, man, but dude, these guys that can't separate, they get to a certain point and goodbye. Yeah.
So. I guess it's depth. I wouldn't predict him to make the roster. Maybe we'll do our 53-mans next week. I wouldn't predict him to make the roster right now because you have Neighbors. I know a lot of people want to make this a Darius Slayton type of signing. This means something for Slayton. Yeah, I just don't think that is. I just don't think that's what it is. Not every.
And also, let's
the 90th guy signed to the team isn't a referendum on Darius Slayton to me.
Yeah, no, I know Allen Robinson has been around, and hey, even the last 3 years he's caught over 30 balls, whatever, and maybe that's what wide receiver 4 in this offense is going to be, right? Because you have Wan'Dale, who you project to be good, Slayton and Hyatt, who you want to project to be good, Malik Neighbors, who we're projecting to be good.
Maybe you take him over Hodgins.
That's where my brain goes to. If the Giants are going to have 5 legit wide receivers on this team, because Neighbors isn't going to give you anything special teams, Wan'Dale's not going to give you anything special teams, and Hyatt's not going to give you anything special teams. So then you have that number 4 as Darius Slayton. My brain goes to, if the Giants want to have 5 legit wide receivers, and number 5 being Hodgins, because Hodgins isn't going to give you anything special teams, and then Robinson won't either. So if they want to carry 5, it goes to Allen Robinson versus Isaiah Hodgins. But I do think Isaiah Hodgins is... I think he's more reliable. I think he may be a better route runner, and I think he could be more of a red zone weapon than Allen Robinson. At least I think so, just based on recent stuff.
Yeah, so. This very much feels like, hey, come to camp and see if you have any juice left type of signing. I don't think the signing signals much besides that.
Yeah. Why would the Giants move off of Darius Slayton for Allen Robinson when Allen Robinson, if you combine his last basically since 2020, if you combine his 2021, 2022, 2023, when you combine all 3 of those years of production, it is just slightly better than what he did in 2020 alone. So he hasn't given you really anything that's worthy of, and versus Darius Slayton, who has, say what all that you want about him, but he's been reliable and he's been the Giants' #1 receiver however many of the last few years, right? So I wouldn't move off of him for the sake of moving off of him. Like, if you're going to get a day 3 pick out of Darius Slayton, just do it at the trade deadline. Don't do it before the season where you don't even know what depth you have.
Make Slayton and Hyatt prove he's a wide receiver too.
Right.
Which we have a question about that, so we'll save it all for that. They also signed quarterback Nathan Rourke, who Justin came to. I had tweets on this, man. We freaking it paid off. This is what we do all those minicamp tweets for. I'm excited for rookie minicamp that you guys are going to be, experiencing on Friday and Saturday as you're listening to this. Nathan Rourke, who the Giants in 2021 brought in to minicamp as a quarterback at the University of Ohio. They tried him out as wide receiver. He didn't make the team. That was the year the rookie camp only had like 18 guys in it. It was like a 6-man draft class and like 5 rookie invites and then Kelvin Benjamin and Corey Clement. So that just, I'll be interested to see if they carry 4 quarterbacks through training camp, right? For OTAs, it makes sense. DJ shouldn't be going, every OTA practice. You want to have 3 arms, but I am a fan of the 3 training camp quarterbacks. There's no need to be giving reps to 4 different quarterbacks in training camp. It's very maybe 10 years ago, but now with the limited amount of practices you get, you should just be, hey, this is our QB3. We're training him to be QB3 and not be, wasting reps.
Yeah, I agree with that. 2022, it was Davis Webb, QB3. Last year, it was Tommy DeVito. So, yeah, I want to, especially the limited practice time is the reason.
Maybe Rourke, becomes that 3, though, so we'll see. All right, but Justin, let's get into the mailbag. First episode was brought to you by some special people. We got Cody Jinks. How about that? We got Brody Van Wagoner. And then we got Jody Foster. We got a lot of Odies on this episode, Justin.
Jody Messina, love her. Heads Carolina, tails
West
California. Whew, that's not it.
I know that song, and I really butcher that.
Somewhere greener, somewhere you can go is patreon.com/talkinggiants, $2 a month.
OD, we got Brody, Jody, and Cody. We don't OD on Talking Giants, not on drugs.
You can never get enough of us. 2 lovely people, patreon.com/talkinggiants, $2 a month, plus some of the tiers. You know the perks. You get to hang out with us live while we record the shows. We chat with people before and after, too. And Bobby Skinner sending some stickers in the mail. Plus, there's some shirt raffles. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. Thanks to our patrons.
Thank you so much. Take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
Mail time. The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Thanks, Steve from Blue's Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
Our second favorite weatherman behind Danny King, Anthony Bordenaro, is asking, do you think Drew Lock being in the QB room will be similar for DJ, Daniel Jones, that's the quarterback, like when we signed Tyrod Taylor in 2022? Bobby, can I read your brain? Because my brain may be saying the same thing. I kind of want to turn this into a, not necessarily, we could talk about Drew Lock maybe with Daniel Jones versus Daniel Jones. I kind of want to turn this into a Drew Lock versus Tyrod Taylor conversation.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Do you want to start?
It's not like I spent hours preparing notes for questions. Now you just threw me off. Let's see how I am on the move, right?
Okay.
Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face with a different question.
Can I give my thoughts on this, and then can you follow me? So usually it's the other way around.
First, Anthony Bordenaro. We need to have a real conversation. Is Danny King a part of preview pods? We may need a new weatherman. So.
we may. You never know.
I would love to get just a real another real weatherman and just have like, there's got to be so many local weathermen that listen to the show.
Renato
like,
Rodriguez, my buddy Renato, he went to school for meteorology, so he's got it down pat.
How about that?
We know, so we have some options if Danny King can't come through.
I know we need to have a weatherman tryout. That is something we're going to do in the month of July. I'm hoping Danny King could just stay on it. Yeah. But anyways,
all right. So here's the thing, man. I've been thinking about a lot. I've been thinking about this in general recently, with Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, kind of all fitting into the same thing. I don't know if this is revisionist history, but I'm starting to feel the presence of Tyrod Taylor may actually be missed next year. I think he had such an understanding of the offense. He has the experience, and primarily, his deep ball numbers were legit. They were legit one of the best in the league last year. It's not the largest sample size compared to, obviously the other starters that played 17 games. But he did have the highest big-time throw rate in the league by 12% on passes of 20-plus yards, and the 10th highest adjusted completion percentage on throws of 20-plus yards as well. And I do know that, hey, part of last year was really bad, and getting off to that 2-8 start, and some of those games did include Tyrod Taylor, but part of me does feel that we're downplaying not how good he was in terms of being a starting level quarterback, Bobby, but how good he was for the Giants offense, and that how bad the Giants offense was at times. You had Tyrod Taylor doing some of the things that he were doing. If you look at the second half of the year, and I've talked about this before, the Giants are an above average explosive passing play offense in the second half of the year, and this is all without a capable functioning running game, by the way, too, which I do think both of those things go hand in hand. So when I think of Drew Lock, my brain doesn't go to if he will or can be better than Daniel Jones. My brain almost goes to, will he operate this offense better than Tyrod Taylor did if he gets in? Because in terms of styles, I have Lock and Tyrod Taylor way more similar than Lock and Daniel Jones. And that's how I interpreted this question.
And Lock is a downgrade from Tyrod Taylor as far as backup QBs go.
Yeah.
And the thing about Tyrod Taylor is he was a very conservative quarterback his entire career. Like last year was the outlier for him being aggressive, which speaks to the Brian Daboll offense and why that I do think there will be a shorter leash on DJ, right? If they're not succeeding, and they're not succeeding because he's leaving like aggressive throws on the table, right? He's not pulling that. Then they will go to Drew Lock, who I do I'm not think is to me is a worse quarterback than Daniel Jones, but the one thing he's got going for him is aggression. Now that can be to a detriment, a huge detriment as well. There's times even last year when he looked his best in those two games where it's just like, why this is just so unnecessary, and they don't have coaches losing on you, but I think that little taste of it last year, like you said with the explosives, was just Dave was like, you know what, I need this back. We ran this offense in 2022, it worked, it was efficient, but this is what I need back. But as far as the DJ versus Lock stuff, DJ will be the starter day one of camp. I'm pretty confident of that. It's just a question of like, will Lock get any first team reps at any point, right? Like, will he split them? Will he get any the first week? With Tyrod Taylor, he only got one first team rep in camp in 2 years. And that's when Daboll got ticked at DJ in 2022, pulled him, and then put him right back in the next play. So, but I do think there will be a short leash with DJ this year. And if they're not happy with it, they'll go to Lock, right? And we'll never know how short the leash would have been in 2022 if he played bad. And they didn't win, but they did. So to me, but here's where I stand. Daniel Jones is better than Drew Lock. Like I know people get excited for Lock because of that, that touchdown pass for JSN versus the Eagles, but he still makes a lot of the really bad decisions too that plagued him in Denver. And I know some people want to tell themselves in the offseason that they don't care if a QB is making bad decisions as long as it's aggressive. But that changes once that stuff actually starts happening, and it will drive the coaching staff insane. So I didn't want to spend a ton of time on this question. I wanted to start with it. But my overall thing with this is like, is Drew Lock battling for the starting job? I don't think he is. But I think that Daniel Jones will have a short leash once the season starts. But I'm confident. I don't think there's going to be some battle throughout camp.
I I care most about what QB1 is going to be for the future of this franchise. I'm not going to get too tied up on backup quarterback for the year 2024.
Correct.
I always forget what year we're in. I don't know if you watch on YouTube, whenever I reference the year, I always have to check what year it is, like I forget. But anyway, I think there may be a point this year where, you know what? If Daniel Jones gets hurt, if Daniel Jones gets benched, whatever, if Daniel Jones for whatever reason isn't starting for a period of time in 2024, there's also a whole injury clause concern thing too. That I don't know the next time we're gonna have a beat reporter on that we can really confidently ask about this. I kind of want this fully fleshed out.
I don't want to debate this between us. I agree. Let's have a reporter on ask, is this a possibility? Because I don't feel like debating the whole injury clause.
And also, I don't know fully what it is. So, I want, I'm a fan and I want somebody to explain it to me. Research Rick, maybe. But I want to have, like, a beat reporter come on and kind of explain it so they can correctly explain it, like a Dan Duggan, to us and then also to the rest of you. So, for whatever reason, if Daniel Jones isn't playing this year, there's, like, a feeling of mine, again, kind of just dissecting some of these numbers now that it's the offseason and looking at the Giants' season in stages last year and, after the 2-8 start that they won some football games, right? We may be looking at it like maybe we'll wish that they brought back Tyrod Taylor instead of Drew Lock. They signed Drew Lock to a 1-year, $5 million deal. So this is, regardless of how they feel about Drew Lock right now, regardless of what Tom Pelissero says, regardless of what the Seattle general manager said, like, we want Drew Lock to come in here and compete. Like, they signed him to a 1-year, $5 million deal. I don't think there's a future plan for Drew Lock here, right? So I just have this sneaky little feeling. Tyrod Taylor really operated that offense well last year. He really threw a really nice deep ball. It's like, Drew Lock is aggressive, but does he actually throw the deep ball well, or is he just super aggressive and is he willing to? Tyrod Taylor, we talked about this on Football Today. The second most air yard completion of 2023 belongs to Tyrod Taylor in that Darius Slayton long 74-yard touchdown against the Eagles. And I would have never thought that. So that's my overall point. I think Drew Lock is a step back from Tyrod Taylor. It's not just, Brian Daboll QB. Maybe Drew Lock does improve under Brian Daboll if he actually gets in there, but I don't know. We'll see. My brain's going back and forth.
Tyrod's also too injury prone. We talked about this before. We hit free agency. I just can't. If I'm investing in a backup, I just can't. He's too injury prone, right? And with the injury prone starter, I can't. If I were them, I wouldn't double down my job. But I think Daniel Jones is going to start the season, and Daniel Jones play at your 2020, 2021 level that will keep you from losing the job to Drew Lock. It'll be average to below average, sometimes above average quarterback play, and this year is over, and Daniel Jones is not the QB anymore. All right, let's get to the real important shit, though. Let's stop talking about quarterbacks like some freaking radio media, some clown-ass podcasters.
Bobby, I'm also going to basically rephrase this question.
Son of a sailor. I'm using my notes. I don't care what you rephrase this to.
Tom Lemmy. But this one I think I am reading your mind. Tom Lemmy at TomSU44. What do you think Bowen will do to maximize the QB pressures, considering Dexter Lawrence is the only true pass rush threat from the D lineman standpoint? Thibodeau and Burns will press from the edge, but the O-line can wash them to the outside if no pressure is coming up the middle. And I'm going to rephrase this too. Bobby, what did you learn from your live film session this week where you were watching Shane Bowen's defense?
I'm so excited to keep doing this because I've already picked up on a few trends. I'm like, okay, well, they continue the Shane Bowen doesn't blitz much, but when he does, he likes this nickel blitz. Is there any indicators of when this is coming? I have a worry already. I'm only through one game. I'm going to do the second game after we record this. Is when he does send pressure or it's third and long, he leaves the middle of the field, can be a little vulnerable. But here's what I will start with. This is one. The pressure and sack rate and stuff was just never... The sack rate was okay, but it was never very good in Tennessee, and they had some good rushers too, right? You have Jeffrey Simmons, Bud Dupree, Harold Landry. I'll just go through the last 4 years since Shane Bowen's been DC. So this is going from 2023 to 2020. Their rankings in these three categories. Sacks, 17th, 20th, 10th, 17th. That's the best one. Pressure, 26th, 19th, 21st, 26th. Blitz rate, 24th, 26th, 28th, 24th. So it's not getting a lot of pressure, but I think it's about making the pressures count with Shane Bowens. So here's what you're going to see. Stunts, right? We didn't see a lot of stunts with Wink Martindale unless we're playing the Commanders one game. Like through one game of film, he stunted on 15 of 36 pass plays, and that includes under center play action, where you're not going to call that type of stuff.
That's crazy.
So there's going to be a lot of stunts, right? And that's something we need. Blitzing, not a lot. He only blitzed on 7 of 36 of those 36 passing plays, right? And most of them were nickel blitzes, and then a couple of just 5-man front send the pressure. And then there was just one cover 0 blitz they started the second drive of the game with. So you'll see that. They're going to let Kayvon and Brian Burns get wide, right? A line way outside the tackles and freestyle, which means they can work around the corner. They can go outside in. They're not going to be asked to have the most disciplined rush lanes and make sure you keep the quarterback in the pocket, which is going to lead to sacks. It's going to lead to pressures. It's going to lead to the quarterback getting hit while they're throwing the ball. Here's the negative side of that. It's going to lead to the quarterback getting outside of the pocket, extending and creating big plays, right? In the game of film, just the one game film, you saw the good and bad of that, right? You saw Derek Carr get sacked, and you saw Derek Carr get outside the pocket and make some plays. They're also, when they get into like obvious passing downs, they're going to do a lot of what the Rams would do with Aaron Donald, where they're going to take a defensive tackle and they're going to line him like on the inside shoulder of a tackle. They're going to take another defensive tackle or end and outside the tackle, and then they're going to put even one more guy outside there, and then that'll set up the stunts and stuff. So they're just going to try and create one-on-ones by rushing 4. So those are the things that Shane Bowen is looking to do to create pressure. It's like it's a lot of freestyling. It's a little bit of, not disciplined, like super disciplined up front, play your lane, play into the guy, check the run type of stuff. But it's also, hey, we're not going to put a lot of assets as far as sending extra rushers. We're going to have guys drop back in coverage.
Were you referencing like what the Rams do with Aaron Donald, how they would stack like one side with like 3 linemen?
Yes, that exact thing. Like I have on passing downs, they'll line up 3 guys outside the guard on one side.
I think I love that. That always like scares them.
Oh yeah, on obvious passing downs, it's great. It's a great way to create one-on-ones for your best players and avoid double teams when you don't want to blitz.
I think when I was watching for Ashawn Robinson, I saw them do that. I'm like, oh my god, this would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's been the ultimate. Team. Hey, let's get Aaron Donald out of double teams. Like I don't know if they created that, but they have been the team that's used that the most is the Rams.
So I mean, all right. So now I guess we can get to Tom's question, because I mean, basically here, I mean, I have here's my simpleton take. I trust that pressure is going to come from the middle because Dex has had one of the highest double team rates in the league over the last 2 years.
Right, he's a beast.
I'm pretty sure the only one that's higher is Aaron Donald, and now Aaron Donald's out of the league. And if it wasn't for that injury last year that basically kind of made him like a rotational player, he's still got like 50, 60% of the snaps. I think he would have continued to he had a phenomenal year, but I think he would have continued to have even more of a phenomenal year. Winning more, getting more. I think he would have ended with more sacks and, et cetera. So I think I'm not worried about the pressure that's going to be generated over the middle. I'm worried about the pressure that's going to be generated over the middle if he does sustain another injury, or especially if he has to miss some time because just the depth after him is bad.
Yeah, they're not going. Jordan Phillips and Jordan Riley and DJ. They're not going to be. Those guys aren't going to be creating pressure. It's going to be a 3-man show as far as it is creating pressure in the passing game. Like, that's just the reality of it. The other guys are going to be used to set up stunts. I wouldn't be surprised if they take some of those, I wouldn't be surprised on those passing downs that it's Dex, Kayvon Burns, and Aziz. So they're going to try and let their guys go and freestyle and make plays. But, yeah, if you're worried about no one on the interior creating pressure outside of Dex, well, your worry is confirmed. No one else is going to.
Yeah.
Jordan Phillips will here and there, but not consistently.
Week 1, Jordan Phillips is going to get a sack guaranteed. He's done it like the last 3
years. You need to say that
years.
louder. Like we need to like let people know. Expect the Week 1 Jordan Phillips sack.
I'll make my first copying John Boy. I'll make my first stats that exist but don't matter. Jordan Phillips Week 1 sack numbers. Breaking news. Allen Robinson is number 15.
I saw that. That's So maybe it's Tommy DeVito changing numbers.
Or also, I mean, you can have guys have multiple numbers all the time during.
Not on the same side of the football.
Not
though.
on the same side, though. Oh, what number does Tommy DeVito want?
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Does he want 2?
What if we publish this episode? I don't think 2's available. Is it? Who has number 2?
Because it was Tyrod. Did anybody take it? We'll find out.
Drew Lock has it.
Oh, Drew Lock. Where's he gonna go?
We did just sign Nathan Rourke, and they have to cut 2 players, Justin.
Oh, sugar. They better not. I don't think they will.
They can't do. They cannot handle the PR of cutting Tommy DeVito in the offseason.
I think there would be a mob that not an angry crowd of people that would show up outside of the facility. A lot of it being his family members. He would go somewhere and probably get a little bit of money though. There were other places like New England and the Commanders last year that wanted to pay him more than the Giants.
All right, I'm going to do this for the listeners of this show. I'm tweeting from the Talking Giants account. Just had a really bad thought. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
I like cryptic tweets like that all the time.
It's pretty annoying to do, but that would be like the most nut. That's like that'd be like a bigger off-season June day than like the DeAndre Baker arrest.
Would that require an emergency episode if they cut Tommy DeVito?
No, me and you wouldn't like personally, but people would lose their mind. I don't care about the third QB that much, to be honest. And I'm not Italian, so I don't have any skin in the game. What were we talking about?
Well, Allen Robinson. Well, initially we were talking about Tommy DeVito's number change, and then we were talking about Dexter Lawrence.
Before we got off on this Allen Robinson, Tommy DeVito.
Dexter Lawrence
next question.
Dexter Lawrence creating pressure up the middle, and us being concerned that nobody besides him can do that up the middle.
Next question.
Next question. Ryan at Giants_Ryan. If Waller retires, is there a free agent acquisition currently on the market that you'd like to see with the extra money, or even just a specific position of need to address for a competent starter?
So with the Darren Waller thing, if he does retire, and I'm not sure if he retires post June, if it's the same thing as like a post June cut or whatever. But the Giants, if it happens post June and that's how it works, the Giants would have $11.5 million of cap savings. And then obviously like, $5 million of that would get pushed to next year, where it wouldn't have happened if it was pre-June 1st. But I'm also not just looking to we got some money, let's spend it, right? Like, you don't have to spend all your cap money, you can let some roll over. But there is 2 spots where I would like them to, Justin, and maybe even if they keep Waller, I would like to do it. Like, I just don't want to have disaster slots on the team, right? We know that this team's not winning a Super Bowl or anything. Like, we don't need to try and juice it up, make it the best team possible. I just don't want disaster slots. And I'm looking at guys who would cost $6 million or less. Those 2 slots are guard and cornerback 2 on the outside.
Okay, because I have cornerback and interior defensive line.
I can live with interior defensive line being a group of not so good guys while having Dexter Lawrence and the edge presence. Like, we've made the playoffs doing that. I mean, who was this? The D line. I guess they had Leo, but like when Leo was injured in 2022, and like you lived with guys like Ryder Anderson getting meaningful snaps.
All right, here's we have an offensive.
You talk about I have 4 guys. 1, I know number 22 was already given to Andrew Phillips. Adoree Jackson, if you're looking for a corner that makes the most sense to come back, it is him. He's the youngest. He's coming off a down year, so he's not going to cost a ton. And, like, he didn't have a down year because he fell off, like, athleticism-wise or anything. He just kind of had a bad year. He is the one that makes the most sense to bring back. Like, if you're asking me who I'd rather have, Adoree Jackson or Xavier Howard, who's 31 years old now, I'm picking Adoree Jackson.
I'd like to know if there was something behind the scene, because clearly he wasn't there, man. Like, Adoree Jackson's effort was not there. We called it
out. I don't like calling out effort. He gave bad effort in that Rams game. He was not trying to play the run, and then he gave up a touchdown because he didn't tackle Puka Nacua when he had him wrapped up for 10 seconds.
So I don't blame Brian Dable, Joe Shane, and Jerome Henderson if they're carrying a little bit of a grudge and be like, I don't know if I want that guy back here again. Agreed.
But outside of that, he's the one who makes the most sense to bring back.
Yeah, for sure.
And then on the O-line, I have Connor Williams, who's been good for Miami, but he's been a center only for Miami. He played guard for Dallas, where he was okay, but he also had 15 penalties that year that he left Dallas. He might take a bigger contract because he's still young, but Dalton Risner, he signed for $3 million last year for Minnesota, and he had his ups and downs, but he's only 29. Like, would if $3 million would get the deal done for Dalton Risner, then he should be a New York Giant.
Yeah.
Like, if that's what it takes this year, then he should be a New York Giant. I'm
big on waiting for 53-man cutdown day and then making the move from there. Because at this point, I think you got to wait for some talent to get off these 90-man rosters and just pull a Fabian Moreau out of a hat or a Nick McLeod out of a hat. Or
maybe for corner, but you're not getting a starting guard on 53-man cutdown day.
Well, that's why I didn't list guard. That's exactly why I listed cornerback and interior defensive lineman. Because that's my plan. My plan is to wait till 53-man cutdown day, and then make your pro personnel department get to work on that film of guys who can get cut, just like you did in 2022. That low key kind of saved the season. those kind of moves. Nick McLeod, Fabian Moreau, Isaiah Hodgins came a little later too. So yeah, that's my plan. Jason Pinnock, who is still starting on this team. So that's kind of like my plan. It's not a great plan, but it's not going to hurt. So
yeah, I mean the Giants will be high in the waiver order this year too, unlike last year. But again, when it comes to Dalton, like Connor Williams may cost a lot of money. Adore Jackson, I got no clue what he's going to bring in, money wise. I think you could get him a $6 million or less though. And then just Dalton Risner, like, last year Dalton Risner was a name thrown out there for the Giants, and I was like, oh well, the reason he's not being signed is he probably wants $8 million, $10 million per year, or whatever. And then he signed for $3 million. I was like, okay, then why? What happened here? And he wasn't great for Minnesota, but he wasn't horrible either. Like the Giants should be doing that, right? We have a question later about offensive line, and there's Dalton Risner would be the perfect answer to that. It would shut me up. It would if we finish this episode and post that segment, the Giants signed Dalton Risner, I'd be like, maybe we should take that segment out. All right, next question.
Rumpelstiltskin 89 at Rumpelstillcool. How do you expect Slayton and Hyatt to be used after drafting Malik Neighbors?
So this is going to be the most fascinating dynamic on the team for me, right? Like, you finally aren't forced to have Darius Slayton as your wide receiver one, but he still is your second best wide receiver if we're going by how the season ended, by a good margin. But you have this crazy deep threat that you traded up for and were willing to pick in the second round if JMS wasn't there and Jalen Hyatt. If Hyatt becomes a better as a whole wide receiver, better as a wide receiver just as a whole, then the decision is easy. Like, you just play Hyatt, right? Even if it's Slayton may have an edge over him, you give Hyatt those reps because the way he's able to threaten the field deep is just unmatched. But here's the thing, is this idea of like, oh, well, we got Neighbors, don't need Slayton. We got to stop assuming that guys are just going to develop the way we would hope for them, right? I hope that Hyatt can develop to where Slayton is extremely expendable. But I'm also not believing that until it happens, right? You just can't assume that this is going to happen right now. But right now, Slayton is clear-cut better than Hyatt, and I'm not going to force Slayton out just because I want Hyatt to do it. Like, yes, I want Hyatt to do it. But you know what? Hyatt, we love his average depth of target, right? Wide receivers with 40 targets led the league. Awesome. 45% of his targets with 20-plus yards, which was second highest in the NFL. Awesome. Like, that's cool, but there's also a reason for that. He is not good at the short and intermediate game. He has to develop that to be trustworthy, and until that happens, I'm not making him a clear starter on this team. He's useful, but he can't be a clear starter on this team with Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hyatt, in the snaps that he was eligible to play in last year, played 51% of the snaps. You had Wan'Dale Robinson, who played 66%. That was coming off a torn ACL. And you had Darius Slayton playing 81% of the snaps in there. And then you also have Isaiah Hodgins kind of in there too. Jalen Hyatt had the lowest slot rate at 11.7%. Wan'Dale Robinson, obviously your slot receiver, 78.2%. He had a 19.4% wide rate, but I guarantee it, hey, if he's out there in 12 personnel, then that counts as wide. And then Darius Slayton had actually 33.4% of the snaps he played in the slot last year. That was the highest of his career, even up from 2022, where it was 27.4. So I always think, like, this is such a fun offseason question, and, you can do all the, the combinations and stuff in your brain. And hey, if you're even a schematic guy, you can think of, I want this guy running this play, this guy running this route. But I think injuries is something that's always going to kind of take care of this. Somebody may be hurt. All four of these guys being healthy at the same time probably won't be for all 17 weeks. It definitely won't be for all 17 weeks.
Yeah.
Last
year might be probably the outlier with the wide receiver health.
Yeah, this is something that I feel like, and it crept its way into the offensive line. This is something that I think is going to take care of itself. And as I feel like as Giants fans, we always have the tendency of, if there's a position that has depth, just trade the guy that's the last guy standing.
I hate that shit. It drives me nuts. Like, we're allowed to have more than just the starters on this team be able to play in the NFL. Yeah. We've gotten so used to just having such a bad team that, like you said, anytime there's depth, let's trade him. He's not starting. What the fuck use is he? Which, by the way, Slayton is starting.
Yeah, as of now. Hyatt's
and if Hyatt doesn't develop, I want to extend Slayton, right? Obviously within reason. Right? Like, but this is why Neighbors being here doesn't mean let's, trade Slayton. Hyatt developing would push me to want to trade Slayton at the deadline. Right? If Slayton's going to go command $13-14 million on the open market last year, or get like a Gabe Davis deal, and Hyatt has developed, then I'm like, yes, let's trade Slayton instead of letting him walk in free agency for nothing. But if Hyatt doesn't, I would be looking to extend Slayton within reason, obviously. Like, we have to stop just throwing away every imperfect good player. Like, the team desperately needs talent, and a lot of it has just walked away, and I'm tired of just, let's just throw it away. Like, if some team offers a high third-round pick for Slayton right now, yeah, I'd consider it, but I don't think that's happening. So don't just trade him for the sake of it, right? Let's hope Jalen Hyatt turns into a more well-rounded. It doesn't even need to be the most well-rounded, right? Like, be the Gabe Davis. Prove you can be the Gabe Davis of this offense, in a sense where, like, hey, you're not going to be the guy, you're the number one target, the main target, but you're capable of playing all the snaps. You can run a good amount of the routes halfway well, and you can get open down the field or make plays down the field. Obviously, they do it in two very different ways in Gabe Davis and Hyatt. But, do that.
Yeah, we actually have a question about camp battles, and I didn't consider this, but low-key, wide receiver just to earn playing time is a camp battle right now.
And that's what's going to be interesting. That's where I say I'm interested in it, is because, yeah, Slayton will probably be starting over Hyatt. But they're going to want to give Hyatt reps. So how often are you taking Darius Slayton off the field, right? Are you taking Wan'Dale Robinson off the field because you want to, hey, let's get Neighbors some slot reps and have the, Slayton and Hyatt on the outside. So, like you said, that four-man wide receiver group, like you said, is very intriguing to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
Because somebody's playing time is going to, I think this is a mailbag topic or wide receiver review of the end of the year conversation we had about this, and now it's coming to light. Let's see how they figure this out, because someone's ego is going to be hurt. If Slayton is losing playing time, if Hyatt isn't losing playing time, both of their egos are going to be hurt. Yeah. Slayton's going to be mad that he lost playing time on a contract year, and Hyatt's going to be like, what the hell? I'm this deep threat. I'm supposed to be a starter in the NFL. What's going on?
Odds are I think it'll figure itself out too, because somebody will get hurt, and then I'll be like, oh, well, there you go. That's how it figures itself out. Next question. NYG fan and Charlotte research Rick. Every single NFL position has an element of positional versatility. Would you rather have a player do one thing with excellence or do more than one thing with above average competence? And how does this apply to the Giants roster? And where's versatility most important?
This is a good question, and I think it depends on the position. I'm not going to include Dex, Okereke, and Thomas. Be like, yeah, they're versatile because they're really good at everything. Like, that's just a really good player. We're talking about like guys who are maybe average or good at one area, where they're just good at everything. I'm not bringing them in the arguments. So I'll just go quickly through the positions that where I talk about this. With safeties, versatility is super important to me. And it's why Newman is such a good fit, especially for this defense. Like, Landon Collins was a great box safety, but he's a liability in coverage. Like, that's just not an overly valuable player to me. I value versatility in the safety position, right? Are you screwing me? You can be great in one area, but if you're screwing me in another, I'm just not going to be that happy with you as a player. You're never going to be looked at as a big contract, big money type of player. For defensive tackle, versatility is not that important to me, right? I want the guy who is I don't want the guy who's an okay rusher, an okay run defender, over the run stuffer, right? The guy who just stuffs the run, great run defender, can't rush the pass rush. Or the opposite, like you get a pass rusher who's a great advantage of defensive tackle, but can be an issue in the run game, right? That's a rotational position, put you in the right spot. Like I'm looking for specialty guys in a rotational position. Like, who would you rather have? Johnny Newton, who's maybe can struggle in the run game, even though he had some really good run film, or like Rourke Ohoroho, who went early in the second round to the Falcons out of Clemson, who's like, yeah, he's solid pass rusher, solid run defender, not going to wow you in either. I'd rather take the guy who's just a great run defender or vice versa. Linebacker, I need you to be versatile for the most part. Like an Isaiah Simmons doesn't do much for me in this defense, even though he's back on the team. Like he just doesn't. I hope he's not playing. Running back, I value versatility and being able to keep you on the field, whether it's a gap run, zone run, blocking, receiving, over the guy who can create a home run but will create negative runs and can't block. Tight end, I need versatility unless you're a top 5 pass catcher, which is funny. We had this conversation before we had to Waller, and it's like, damn, we found the exception. If you're an above average pass catcher but a below average blocker, you're a negative to me. You have to be a guy who changes the passing game to give me that value if you're a negative in the blocking. So those were the 5 positions where I thought it was highlighted. Quarterback, you're not versatile as quarterback, obviously, but like positions where versatility actually comes into play.
Now, you see, I follow Research Rick. I'm a fan of Research Rick. I'm interested to hear what direction is he taking this question in, because you just talked about positional versatility as being versatile within your position. I think Joe Shane has talked about positional versatility, meaning you can play multiple positions. And
give me an example. It's like offensive line.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, what positions and areas of the roster are we talking about here besides offensive linemen? Safety? Like, can you also be a nickel corner? Like, nickel corner, you can also play safety. So really, when I've heard the phrase
nickel or outside or whatever,
yeah, nickel corner, yeah.
Which I don't value that. Give me a good nickel, give me a good outside. I don't need a guy who can work inside and out. That's not that important to me.
Wide receiver is another example, inside out. So yeah, sorry. So I'm literally naming.
Well, here's the thing: great wide receivers can't align anywhere.
Right.
But if we're talking about not the great guys, I'd rather have, the Wandale, who can Wandale play on the outside? Absolutely not. But he can be a really good slot receiver. He brings value. Cole Beasley can't ever play the outside, brings value to me. So wide receivers, if you're a good wide receiver, you bring versatility to the table unless you're 5'8".
Right.
Right. So to me, wide receiver doesn't even count with it. O-line is the only one that makes, position versatility in offensive line does. Find me a good center. Find me a guy who can play the guard positions. I don't give a shit if he can play guard and tackle. He needs to find one position in the NFL and play it.
I do like center. I agree with you. Where I want a lifelong center. Like I want a center lifer. Probably most likely because it's so hard to transition in today's game to guard to center. Even though we did have a guy that do it, Nick Gates. It's really hard to. And these coaches aren't able to work with these guys as much as they used to post CBA of 2011. And in return, they're not able to work with their teammates and their offensive line that much anymore either. So that's my reason for get me a guy who can actually just play center and knows what he's doing there. I do like the whole guard tackle thing. Like I think it's rare, first of all, and I think sometimes you only find these guys towards the top of the draft where you have a Graham Barton.
If you're talking about a guy who played tackle in college and he's moving to guard in the NFL, that's one thing. But I'm talking about once you get to, who's the guard tackle versatile guy? Onwenu, right? And I don't love that Onwenu's position. If I had Onwenu on my team, I wouldn't care, but I wouldn't want him to be versatile. I'm like, let's find the position you're best at, that's most important to us. You can play that.
But I think in a pinch, take even AVT as an example, right? Elijah Vera Tucker, where obviously, again, like this guy's like a top of the first round guy. Like we knew that he was going to be a stud coming out of USC, right? But in a pinch where the Jets have needed him, he's played guard really well. He's also played tackle well. I think Rashawn Slater is another guy where, let's just say, if the Chargers kicked him to guard, and they made the wrong decision, if they kicked him to guard at the NFL level, and then they made him a tackle, he could do it. And obviously, he did it really well. And I also think he could be a really good guard too. So I'm saying, like, from a
See, I don't like that though. That's done by bad. Our next question actually is going to address this perfectly. That is being done out of negligence for the offensive line, where you don't have backups at that position. Yeah, if your 3 and 4 tackles get hurt, you put it. Yeah, it's nice, but I don't want to live in the outlier zone.
I'm saying it's nice as a preference. Like,
sure, but it's not going into my like process of adding you that much.
That's fair.
If you have it, sick. But like, you know,
for me, I think I'd consider
if Rashawn Slater hit free agency, you know, to tomorrow, I would be like, let's sign him to be a tackle. Not, hey, he could play guard if Evan Neal gets. No, he just be like, hey, he fixes our right tackle.
No, you're right, but I think it's an additional plus to have a guy that can do that. Like, think of how valuable David Deal was for his entire career with the Giants. Like, I think, I don't know if David Deal lasts that long if he's just a guard or just a tackle, because I think at certain points in his career, the Giants have needed him to do both. And it's the same thing with Justin Pugh, too. I think Justin Pugh was so valuable through his rookie contract with the Giants because in a pinch, and again, this isn't a great process, but in a pinch, he needed to play tackle, he played tackle. They needed him to play guard, he can play guard. So I think, you know, partially it's Justin Pugh's had a really long NFL career. He came back. He literally came back to the Giants to play tackle because he just could, even if it wasn't tremendously well, but he could. So that's I value that. And then obviously tackle is just play tackle. Yeah, there you go. That's how I defined positional versatility, by the way.
Definitions. Next question.
Next question is coming from Zach, PL73.
Peen liquor.
This is true, yeah. He changed his handle.
Yeah, he got embarrassed. Come on, bro. That's how we knew you at first, bro. We know the real you.
Are you guys worried at all with Joe Shane's process of building the offensive line so far? Yeah, kind of. He's put us in a position where too many rookies have to start immediately because there are no veterans that can fill in when they stink it up their rookie year. Take JMS and Neal as an example. I think last year was the example of they have way too many rookies and inexperienced guys. Now it's just there's a lot of fucking veterans that are floating around where we kind of don't really have an idea where they're going to play.
Well, so 2022, I thought they had good process. They just ended with bad results, right? Like free agency, your highest paid player with the money he had, Mark Lewinsky, was really bad. Feliciano was what you asked him to be for the contract you gave him. You drafted Evan Neal 7th, good process, just hasn't been good. Drafted Josh Azuda in the 3rd, good process, getting off the guard in the 3rd round, just hasn't been good. Marcus Keithan, 5th round flyer, not good. That offseason process was good to me, but the results were just awful. The last 2 years, the process are worrisome to me. You went into the 2023 NFL draft with essentially no center on the roster. And it's not because you got outpriced. John Feliciano left on a 1-year, $2.25 million deal. The same deal you gave him a year before, right? Was I a big fan of Feliciano? No. But if you told me, hey, sign him for that or don't, I'm saying, yeah. It allows us to go into the draft and have a little more freedom. If the Bears take JMS at 56, the Giants would have taken Hyatt at 57. What is your plan at center? And then your best interior offensive line was Bredesen. You had him at center the first day of camp, then backup guard at both spots until he finally just became the starter at left guard. And then your backup guard in Josh Azudu, you moved to left tackle because you didn't trust your swing tackle with Matt Parrott after cutting Tyree Phillips. Like, that is bad process going into the season. That was asking for disaster, right? Have a backup tackle, have a backup interior guy, right? Preferably like to have a backup center too, but just have a backup interior guy, right? And let your, what they should have even done with the roster manager they did is that Ben Bredesen, you are the starting left guard. We are not moving you from that position. Mark Lewinsky, you are the starting right guard. You are playing that position. Josh Azudu, you are the backup. Everyone else, you are backups. You guys will train at both positions, right? So if Glowinski goes down, Azudu, you're going to right. If Bredesen goes down, you're going to left. But they didn't have a true backup center, so they had to play this game of musical chairs with Bredesen, and it hurt Bredesen's play. And then you go into this offseason, you sign John Runyon to the 7th highest offensive lineman free agent contract, average annual value basis of the offseason, right? That's an okay signing, but that's not an offensive lineman changing signing. Love the Jermaine Eleanor signing, right? That was awesome. $7 million per year. I keep saying awesome in this podcast. But, like, he might be your starting guard now.
Yeah,
right?
let me ask you a question with that then. Because this is the main thing. Like, we've debated right tackle, right guard, right tackle, right guard. Because we know Runyon's there, we know JMS is there, we know Andrew Thomas is there. And then, in my brain, I've been going Aaron Stinney and then Evan Neal, Jermaine Eleanor battle for right tackle. But
that's what should happen with the roster they have.
But what if they go with Eleanor at guard and then Evan Neal at tackle? Bobby, who the fuck is our swing tackle?
Exactly. It's going to be Jermaine Eleanor. So if Evan Neal stinks, they'll put Eleanor out there. If Andrew Thomas gets hurt, they'll put Eleanor out there. Who's the starting guard? And that's where, again, I don't like the process of the last 2 years of the offensive line. Eleanor should either be the starting right tackle or the swing offensive tackle, right? And you should have, and what did I say was somebody they should prioritize bringing back this offseason, Justin?
They should have brought back Ben Bredesen. Ben
Bredesen. You didn't draft any offensive linemen after that, and you filled depth with minimum contract guys like Aaron Stinney and Austin Schlottman. And having Josh Azudu coming back from the neck injury and never proving to even be close to average. And Ben Bredesen will make a max of $3 million this year. Bredesen should have been brought back. He should have been either the fifth, like he should have been just, hey, you're the starting fifth, you're the starting guard opposite Runyon. If Azudu is better than you, he'll start over you. But right now, Azudu is being trained to be the backup. Stinney is trained to be a backup. So right now, your starting group is Thomas, Runyon, JMS. I don't know if they're going to put Eleanor or Aaron Stinney or Josh Azudu and Neal, and your backups are, like I said, maybe Eleanor, Azudu, Stinney, and Schlottman. It's, to me, it has been a half-ass after that first year.
And let me tell you something.
And it worries me that they're like, we can work around this.
And let me tell you something.
They don't have the talent to work around. If you had this franchise great QB, you can live with playing some games up front. I don't like the way that they have addressed offensive line this offseason. I love the Eleanor signing, but to have him and Runyon as your really only signings. I know when we see names get put on the screen of Giants sign Aaron Stinney and Giants sign Austin Schlottman, we view that as addressing it. That's not addressing it. That is bringing in vet minimum backups at best in camp. Aaron Stinney started some games last year for the first time. He was not good. Austin Schlottman he's only started 5-6 games in his career. That is not a great option to have as your backup center. It's better backup center plan than last year, but that is to me where I am. I do not feel good about this offensive line because it is one injury away or Evan Neal not being good away from being chaos.
And I'll tell you the messed up thing, right? If they go Stinney right guard,
which I believe would be the right decision. Just let Eleanor start at right tackle or be the swing tackle.
If they go Stinney right guard and then Neal right tackle, we'll at least be starting another training camp saying, wow, one of the best players on this line is... you know what? I'll go as far to say this. I like Jermaine Eleanor more than John Runyon. Do you agree or disagree?
Agree.
I think Jermaine Eleanor right now, before training camp and before we see year number 2 of John Michael Schmitz, I think Jermaine Eleanor is a better football player than John Michael Schmitz.
Well, yeah, because Jameis had a bad rookie year.
So Ben Bredesen, training camp last year and at the start of last year, was the Giants' second best offensive lineman. Agree or disagree? At the start of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was on the bench, basically.
He started first day of camp at center, and then they moved him. So here's my thing with that. You got to give Evan Neal first crack at it, right? I am fine with that. I have no problem with that, hoping you get some improvement out of that investment.
But I'm going to go crazy if Jermaine Eleanor is on the bench as your second best offensive lineman on the fucking team.
I won't.
He's the second best lineman on the team.
Okay, but let Evan Neal lose that job. Okay? If Evan Neal does not improve and progress, then you put Elminor
Yeah,
right
get
tackle.
fucking embarrassed week 1 again. Ah,
Oh, but no,
damn.
I'm talking about throughout camp. You
All
can
right, I
figure
hope.
out in camp. But what I don't want is Elminor playing musical chairs between both guard spots, both tackle spot. Like, no, either let him be the backup swing tackle or the starting right tackle. I do not view him putting him at guard. Like, yeah, in an ideal world, does Evan Neal progress? Jermaine Elminor kicks in at guard and everyone stays healthy? Yes, but that's... When have we learned lived in an ideal world? And also, please do not tell me Carmen Brasillo is just going to turn everyone into fantastic players.
Yeah.
I have hope for Carmen Brasillo. I did not like Bobby Johnson, was very happy he's fired. You cannot expect an offensive line coach to come in here and be some miracle worker, right? I think he can have real improvement. Offensive line coach is very important, but I also cannot just be like, oh, he fixes everything. That is a bad plan if that's what you're putting all your eggs into that basket.
Remember this question, because I really don't want to go through it now because we're running long. I think there's still 1 or 2 other things we want to get to. Table this question. Did you get the sense that it was Bobby Johnson's decision to play the whole musical chairs with the interior last year? Because I didn't. I kind of sensed that.
No, I think that was a Brian Dable thing.
I'm worried about that again.
Even if Bobby Johnson was okay with it, it's a Brian Dable thing. So
right,
yes,
it's
I'm worried about that too. I am absolutely worried about that too. You can even maybe get the sense that Bobby Johnson didn't like it.
Yeah,
maybe that was one of the few things he was
on his press conferences.
Right about. So let's do the next question, Justin. Skip the one after that, and we'll finish off with the last one.
We're gonna do the next question, correct?
Yeah, we'll go quick and then skip the second to last, and then do the last one.
Got it. Ken C. Going into the off-season camps, what are some positional battles you're looking forward to?
I'm not even looking for battles. I'm looking for like alignments. Like I am cornerback. Outside of Banks, who's playing outside, who's playing the slot, are Flott and Andrew Phillips going back and forth between outside and inside? That's the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. And then obviously right tackle. Like the question is, are we actually messing around with this stuff? What about you?
Yeah, I have nickel corner Drew Phillips versus Flott. Because I do think in my brain right now, Nick McLeod is the starting outside corner, then it's a battle between those two. And I think Flock can be like the super backup that plays outside and then inside. Safety 2 to 3. I'm interested in 2 because we know Tyler Nubin's number 1 or will be number 1 eventually. So what's that safety 2 to 3 rotation going to look like? Dane Belton. There's your
I feel
guy.
like it's Pinnock clearly though.
Well, I'm even going number 3 too.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like between number 2 and number 3.
Yeah, I think it's clearly Pinnock, but hey, you never know. We'll see what all that looks like. But definitely safety number 3. Interior defensive lineman number 2. Like, is it Jordan Phillips? Is it Nacho? Do they have a lean on Jordan Riley? DJ? I don't think it's going to be DJ Davidson, but especially between Nacho and Jordan Phillips, interested who's going to get the interior D lineman number 2. Right, Nacho, a little bit of money. And then right tackle. Those are the 4 that I have. Yep.
All right, last question.
That Mocha Magic. Which DB is John Giles mossing first in camp?
I am so excited for the first John Giles mosses somebody in camp clip. We better have it. And if we don't have it, we're stealing it from somebody. You know, last year, that clip that Andrew Thomas, like, pancake Kayvon or whatever, and was like, we didn't get it. You know, I Venmo'd someone for that. I was like, I will Venmo you $10 for this clip. And he's like, okay, sick. And I was like, I need to have this clip, and I'm not just going to embed it from you. But I'm so excited for that first John Giles Moss somebody clip. It's going to happen day one.
Found my victim. Stanley Thomas Oliver from the 49ers.
We were talking about Stanley Thomas Oliver for some reason the other day. And I was like, he's on somebody's roster that I looked at. I forgot that it was the Giants.
Yep, Stanley Thomas Oliver. Guess what? You're done, pal.
Get ready to get Moss, buddy. Get ready to learn Talking Giants viral clip, buddy. All right, that's an episode. We'll be back on Tuesday. Not exactly sure what we'll have yet. Trying to figure something out. We appreciate you guys. Hey, get your ticket. I can't advertise this right now because I got to figure out details. But we might have something for you for the softball game, LPG softball game. So I guess get your tickets. Get your tickets. Be there. But we might have a special opportunity for people who want to spend a little more bread and like 10 people. All right, appreciate you guys very much. We'll see you on the next one. Enjoy your weekend. Until then, Let's go Big Blue.